It was 2:47 a.m. I know because my eyes instinctively darted to the glowing green numbers on my bedside clock as I froze in place. My apartment had always been quiet. Too quiet, actually. I used to joke that it was like living in a tomb. Tonight, that silence had been replaced by something alive. For a moment, I convinced myself I was dreaming. Maybe it was sleep paralysis. But then I moved my foot. My toes brushed against something at the edge of the bed. Something warm. I yanked my legs up so fast I nearly fell off the mattress. My heart was pounding in my ears as I fumbled for my phone on the nightstand. The screen lit up, casting a pale glow across the room. I expected to see something, anything, but there was nothing there. Just my empty, messy bedroom. I turned on the flashlight. Still nothing. I should have felt relieved, but the air was thick, like the room itself was holding its breath. After a few minutes of staring into the darkness, I convinced myself it was a nightmare. I forced myself to lie back down, pulling the covers up to my chin. As I closed my eyes, I promised I'd sleep with the lights on tomorrow. Then, at 3:12 a.m., the closet door creaked open. My bedroom door was locked. I knew that. I always locked it before bed. But my closet? I never bothered. Why would I? The door didn't swing open dramatically like in a horror movie. It just inched, slowly, quietly. I sat up in bed, gripping my phone like a lifeline. The flashlight beam shook in my trembling hand as I pointed it at the closet. Empty. Just hangers and old jackets. Nothing. I decided to leave. It didn't matter that it was the middle of the night. I wasn't staying. I threw on a hoodie, grabbed my keys, and opened the bedroom door. There was mud. A trail of muddy footprints leading from the front door to my bedroom. Bare footprints. My heart felt like it was going to explode. I had been in my locked room all night. The front door had been bolted. I had checked it before going to bed. I followed the footprints to the living room, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. The trail ended at the couch, where one of the cushions was slightly indented, like someone had been sitting there. I didn't bother investigating further. I left the apartment immediately and spent the rest of the night in my car, parked outside a 24-hour diner. The next morning, I called the landlord and asked if anyone else had a key to my place. He swore I was the only one. I even got the locks changed, but it didn't help. The following night, I heard the breathing again. This time, it came from inside the closet. At first, I thought I must have forgotten to shut it all the way. It happens, right? Long day at work, your brain skips a step. But the deadbolt being locked, that wasn't something I could explain away. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up as I stepped inside. Everything looked normal. No drawers pulled open, no smashed glass, no signs of a break-in. But the air felt wrong, heavy, like the place had been holding its breath, waiting for me to return. I did a quick sweep of the apartment. Bedroom, closet, bathroom, nothing. I even checked under the bed, feeling like a complete idiot. Satisfied that I was alone, I shut the door, triple-locked it, and tried to shake off the feeling. That night, around 1:30 a.m., I woke up to a faint tapping sound. It was rhythmic, soft, like someone drumming their fingers on a table. Half asleep, I convinced myself it was coming from outside. Maybe someone in the hallway, or a neighbor doing something weird. I rolled over and closed my eyes. Then the sound moved. It was no longer distant. It was in my apartment. The tapping was now coming from the wall next to my bed, slow and deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. My bed was against the shared wall with my living room, my empty living room. The tapping stopped as suddenly as it had started, and I spent the next hour staring at the ceiling, trying to rationalize it. Pipes, maybe? The building settling. I didn't believe it, but I was too scared to check. The next morning, I went about my day as usual, but something gnawed at me. When I got home from work, I checked every corner of the apartment again. That's when I noticed something on the bedroom door. Scratches. Thin, shallow marks near the bottom, as if someone had been clawing at it. I don't have pets. That night the tapping returned, but this time it didn't stop at the wall. It moved. I could hear it travel from the wall to the floor, to the closet door. It wasn't random. It was purposeful, searching. Terrified, I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The light swept across the room, landing on the closet door. It was slightly open. I swear I had closed it before bed. Heart racing, I sat up in bed and stared at the closet, waiting. I thought I saw something move. A shadow. No, that's not right. It wasn't a shadow. It was lighter, pale, like a hand. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just sat there, paralyzed, watching as the closet door creaked open inch by inch. When it was fully open, there was nothing there. Just darkness. I didn't sleep that night, and I haven't slept in the apartment since. I moved out the next week. The new tenant, they texted me yesterday. Hey, did you ever hear weird tapping in here? It was around 11:30 p.m., and I was the last one in the office. Trying to finish a report due first thing in the morning, the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly above, and the hum of the building's AC was the only thing breaking the silence. Or so I thought. I glanced at the glass wall of the meeting room across from my desk. That's when I saw it. A shadow on the far wall. It looked like someone was standing just out of sight. But here's the thing. I wasn't moving. My hands froze on the keyboard, and I watched as the shadow shifted slightly. It was subtle, like it was trying not to be noticed. My throat tightened. I turned around quickly, expecting to see someone behind me, but there was nothing, just rows of empty cubicles bathed in dim light. I tried to brush it off. I was tired, overworked, and my mind was playing tricks on me. But I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I went back to typing, keeping my eyes fixed on my screen. That's when I noticed the reflection. My monitor, faintly catching the room behind me, showed it again, the shadow. This time it was closer. A cold sweat broke out on my back. Slowly I turned my chair, scanning every corner of the office. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding unnaturally loud. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then I heard it, a faint tapping sound, like fingers drumming on a surface. My heart raced as I pinpointed the direction, the break room at the end of the hallway. I stood up, phone in hand, the flashlight ready. Every step I took toward the break room felt heavier than the last. The tapping stopped when I reached the doorway. The light inside flickered erratically, casting long, jittery shadows across the walls. The vending machine stood at the far end, glowing with its usual motion-activated display. But something was wrong. The screen already read, "Please make your selection," as if someone had just walked away from it. I scanned the room, my pulse pounding in my ears. Then I saw it, on the floor, in the corner, a shadow, darker than the others, shifting slightly like it was alive. It stretched toward me, inching closer with each flicker of the lights. I stumbled backward, my legs almost giving out beneath me. The vending machine's screen blinked off, plunging the room into darkness for half a second. When the light came back, the shadow was gone. I didn't wait to see what would happen next. I ran, past the cubicles, past my desk, straight to the elevator, the entire ride down. I felt like something was standing just behind me. The next morning I forced myself to return. My stuff was still there, my laptop, my bag, even my half-finished coffee. But when I passed the break room, My stomach dropped. The vending machine screen was lit again. Only this time it didn't say, "Please make your selection." It said, "Thank you, I haven't worked late since, and I never will." I woke up to the sound of my closet door creaking open, slowly, like someone was trying not to wake me. I should mention, I live alone. At first I thought I was dreaming. The faint glow of my alarm clock read 3:12 a.m., and the room was as still as the dead. But when I turned my head toward the closet, the door was open just a crack. I swear I had closed it before going to bed. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe the hinges were loose or the building was settling. I got up, walked over, and shut the door tight. For good measure, I even wedged a chair under the knob. Satisfied, I crawled back into bed, but sleep didn't come easy. The next night it happened again. This time I heard it before I even fell asleep. A quiet click, like the latch slipping free, followed by the familiar creak. I turned on the light, and sure enough, the door was open about an inch. The chair was still under the knob, unmoved. I felt a knot of unease in my stomach, but convinced myself it was just my imagination. I pushed the door shut, adjusted the chair, and even tested it by pulling at the door. It didn't budge. I went back to bed and managed a few restless hours of sleep. By the third night, I was on edge. I decided to stay up, sitting in bed with the lights off, just watching the closet door. Hours passed, and nothing happened. I started to think I was losing my mind until I blinked, and the door was open. It wasn't gradual this time. 1 second, it was shut. The next, it was ajar, just enough to see the darkness inside. My breath hitched. I didn't hear a sound, didn't see a shadow. Just that door, silently, impossibly open. This wasn't the wind. This wasn't a loose hinge. Something was opening that door. I sat there frozen, staring into the black void of the closet. My phone was on the nightstand, but the idea of moving, of making noise, felt like inviting whatever was in there to notice me. After what felt like hours, I worked up the courage to shine the flashlight from my phone into the closet. The light caught something, or rather the absence of something. It was like the beam got swallowed by the darkness inside. I couldn't see the back wall, couldn't even see my clothes or the floor. It was just empty, a black void that didn't belong there. I slammed the door shut and didn't bother with the chair this time. I grabbed my keys and left the apartment, spending the night in my car. The next morning, I called my landlord. I tried to sound rational, but my voice cracked as I explained that I thought the closet had some kind of draft or structural issue. He agreed to come by and check it out. When he arrived, I watched as he opened the closet door and looked inside. His face went pale, and he stepped back without a word. He didn't answer my questions, just muttered something about needing to make a call. Then he left. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. It said, "Do not open the closet door again. Whatever you do, don't let it see you." I moved out the next day. I didn't pack, didn't explain myself to the landlord. I didn't even tell my friends why. Sometimes I think about that closet, about what was inside it, and wonder if it's still there, or if it followed me. Whatever you do, don't stay in that apartment by yourself at night. That was the first thing my neighbor, Mrs. Hanson, said when I moved into my new place. She was this frail old woman with watery eyes and hands that never stopped shaking. I laughed it off, thinking she was just another superstitious type. But I should have listened. It started with little things. I'd find lights turned on in rooms I hadn't been in all day. My coffee table would be shifted an inch or two, or I'd notice my front door was unlocked when I was certain I'd bolted it. Annoying, but not exactly terrifying. I blamed it on my own forgetfulness. Then, 2 weeks in, I woke up to the sound of shuffling footsteps in my living room. My heart sank as I lay in bed, holding my breath, straining to hear. The sound was faint, but deliberate, like someone barefoot dragging their feet across the hardwood. I grabbed my phone, creeping toward the bedroom door. The footsteps stopped as soon as I opened it. My living room was empty, the front door still locked, but the rug near the couch was bunched up, and the faint smell of damp earth hung in the air. I convinced myself I was imagining things and went back to bed, but I didn't sleep. The next day, Mrs. Hanson was waiting for me as I came home from work. "You heard it, didn't you?" she asked, her voice low and urgent. I froze. "What are you talking about?" I asked, trying to laugh her off. She grabbed my arm, her grip surprisingly strong. "That place, it doesn't like to be ignored. Don't stay there alone. You'll make it angry." I tried to get more out of her, but she just shook her head and shuffled back to her apartment, muttering something I couldn't hear. That night, I stayed up late, watching TV with every light in the apartment on. I figured if something was there, I'd see it before it could do anything. Around 2 a.m., the lights flickered just once. Then, the temperature in the room plummeted. I could see my breath in the air. I turned off the TV, and that's when I heard it. Whispering. Faint, like it was coming from far away, but unmistakably real. I couldn't make out the words, but it sounded frantic, urgent, like a warning or a plea. It was coming from the corner of the room, the one spot the light didn't seem to reach. My heart raced as I stared into the shadows, and that's when I saw it. A figure. No, not a figure. An outline. Like something had carved a person-shaped hole in the air, and the blackness inside was deeper than the shadows around it. I froze, unable to look away. And then it moved. It didn't step or glide. It just shifted, like it was folding into itself, closer and closer to me. I wanted to scream, but my voice wouldn't come. I scrambled back, knocking over a lamp, and the crash seemed to snap me out of it. I bolted out of the apartment and spent the rest of the night in my car. At dawn, I went back, half convinced I'd hallucinated the whole thing, but when I opened the door, I found muddy footprints leading from that corner of the living room to my bedroom. I didn't go back that night, or ever. Mrs. Hanson didn't seem surprised when I told her I was moving. "They always leave," she said quietly. "You're smart to go now." I don't know what's in that apartment or why it seems to hate being alone, but I can still hear those whispers sometimes, late at night, when I'm lying in bed. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see the outline. It's waiting for me to come back.